biggest interests, which is like assessment practices. Um, when I was like when I was a young teacher, I have always had this feeling that whenever we want to apply like teaching practices that are accurate, like that are like responding to the needs of our students, we will always need to even to think of our own practices and think of the products, the process that we are taking with students. And thus I became highly interested in assessment practices. So because of all the circumstances that have occurred nowadays and well in our social context, I've noticed that digital tools and all this digital development that we as teachers should have is becoming more and more important. There are many things that we as teachers have already implemented in our classes, and there are many things that are not quite new for us. But there are other things that I've been trying to find out, like in a post-pandemic era, in an era that, well, the digital thing has come here to stay, no, regardless of having digital, like remote classes, asynchronous classes, face-to-face classes. And then I like to talk about that. I want to interact a little bit with you, dear guests, and I have two questions for you. The first question I have here is, what digital tools do you use when assessing your students? Or if you're a student, well, here, if you're a student, what tools for assessment have your teachers used? Like, when I talk about maybe some digital tools for evaluation, we can talk about learning management systems that you might recall, maybe online quizzes, some websites, applications, any institutional platform that you might be familiar with. So I'd like you to write some ideas in the chat if possible. And I'm gonna wait like around 30 seconds for you to write your answers. Okay, thank you, Gabriel. So he just wrote Moodle. Canva. Thank you, Maria Paula. CISO, great. Brightspace, PureDeck. Okay, good. Quizlet, Kahoot, Typeform. All right. So thank you for sharing these ideas. You can keep on writing these ideas because, well, the idea is that we can get as many resources as possible. And the idea of these spaces is also to create community. I think that one of the most important principles that we need to take into consideration when we are trying to innovate in research is like teamwork and how we can like facilitate each other's work. So yeah, we have here quizzes. So these are some tools that we might be familiar with. So I'd like to share some others with you. And well, this is what today we're gonna be doing in today's webinar. So I'd like to mention why think of digital assessment nowadays, what we can do with, in terms of rubrics, like what tools we can use, some research and assessment, and some principles that I think should be very important for us, how we can use different avatars to work on digital assessment, regardless of, like I just said at the beginning of this presentation, regardless of having face-to-face classes, hybrid classes, remote classes, how we can use video as a tool for many things, but especially for feedback practices, things related to checklists, follow-up, things that's also connected to providing feedback. My own personal experiences, there is a principle that I have when we have these digital online tools. Less is more. We might present a lot of digital tools, But if we try to use them like all at once or all in one single course, students might, from personal experience, students might get a little bit confused, a little bit worried. I don't know how to use this tool. Now I have to use this other tool. So they have, with their course contents, they already have a lot of things to think about. And then if we start like using too many tools, that would be like too much for them. So we need to, I'm gonna be presenting some tools for you, like not like that I fell in love with some of these tools, but like some pros and cons of using these tools, so that you make your own choices considering your own context of teaching. Also, well, this is also connected to some self-assessment practices and tools that are ideal to use that I wouldn't focus that much or very deeply on these other tools, and maybe some theoretical references that we might consider. So let's start talking about why digital assessment. There are some advantages that I like to mention when we talk about these digital assessment practices. And it's like the first thing is that the students will gain agency in their process. We're gonna be fostering autonomy when we deal with these digital tools. They might get totally engaged if they're like into technology, if we use tools that are familiar to, well, to things that they already use on a daily basis. And well, like Casanova et al. Say, regardless of many contexts, there are many tools that can be used. So Casanova et al. Have have carried out different research studies in which they do they take students' opinions, results, considering different ages, different contexts, and many of these students get like familiar, get engaged with these kind of tools. Their motivation somehow increases. Another thing that also has to be considered, formative assessment takes a more relevant role. It takes a very important role. We might say, no, but yeah, digital tools is like using quizzes, and quizzes are gonna tell us that students got 8 correct answers out of 10. It's not as simple as that. If we just take that for granted, that we limit ourselves to understanding that the digital online tools reduces itself to quizzes, well, there are many things that we have to consider. There are many things about the process that we can include in our daily practices. For example, we have portfolios, digital portfolios, which is a tool that's not like that doesn't look that fancy, that it's been here for quite a long time nowadays. But it's still like it still opens a world of possibilities for us as teachers in terms of providing feedback to students, in terms of fostering their creative processes and many things that they can do, like follow-up practices. We can also consider things related to big data. So when we do a more thorough process of following up on our students, following up on that quantitative data, their usage, we can turn that quantitative data into more qualitative things. For example, when we see that the student doesn't often get access to the LMS system that we're using, there must be something going on. Maybe there's a personal reason for the student not entering to that place. And it's over there when we consider this quantitative data that we need to start activating our human dimension, to start talking to students. Hey, what's going on with you? What's happening here with you? Do you have any problem? Is there anything you don't understand? Do you have any problem? Do you have anything I can help you with as a teacher? So I think that these tools are like, even though we use quantitative data, we are triggering somehow the qualitative part of this process. And whenever we carry out projects in any context, like these digital assessment tools are going to help us to see the progress, to see what challenges we might have, and all the things that we can do to improve our own practices. Most tools can be integrated to Google Classroom. Yes, in some institutions, schools, language centers, universities, we use a very specific learning management system, but we have to consider that, for example, in many public schools, many teachers don't have the possibility to use such a complete tool as a learning management system. Thus, we can use Google Classroom as a tool to, well, as a kind of universal and free tool that can be integrated to many different applications. Even though Google Classroom can be kind of basic, there are, well, the sky's the limit when you use Google Classroom. There are other tools that are getting like connected to other platforms like Canva, Brightspace, that if you notice, many applications, many platforms have like their direct connection to Google Classroom. And you have finally, when we going back to qualitative data and all these quizzes, these great quizzes that you have mentioned, we have the possibility for integrating immediate feedback. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the challenges. According to Cetin et al., they have noticed that it requires spending time on training students whenever we are using these kind of platforms, these kind of digital assessment tools. Because yeah, we might send them a very detailed action plan for them with all the weaknesses they have had, all the strengths they've had, but sometimes they don't even know how to understand that, how to interpret that information, or how to even access the link. If sometimes they have to sign up for an account, they have to download an application. So that's something that might be like a little bit challenging for some teachers. It requires spending time on training students. However, I decided to put this as something that might move, because I see this also as an opportunity. Whenever students are trained on something, they're opening their possibilities, they're improving their tech skills in some way, they are somehow trying to figure out other ways of seeing learning. So we are somehow generating other types of knowledge whenever we are training students on the use of technology. Sometimes internet connectivity and devices are required. That might be a problem, but there are some studies, there are some platforms that are somehow innovating in that. And I'd like to show you a platform that has created something that I find very innovative when we want to use digital tools, but internet connectivity and devices are a big problem. I'm gonna go over that in a moment. And lack of criteria to define what makes an effective or ineffective tool, according to Huckley. Sometimes we might think that because we are using technology, because we are using any quiz platform, we are being innovative, our classes are dynamic, but it's been like quite a while. You know that platforms like Kahoot, quizzes, they are all much older than the pandemic. Well, they were trained the years, many years before the pandemic. So now sometimes when we tell our students, okay, we're gonna have a Kahoot, they're gonna say like, oh, Kahoot again. So maybe we might reconsider like what other possibilities they have. And even they have tried to apply many changes in the platforms, like new types of questions for free, so that they don't get behind. Let's go back to, well, let's move on to the tools. Now, I'd like to show you, I'd like to make this webinar like very practical, like try to emphasize on some tools that I've used, like the pros and the cons of these tools. Let's get started with rubrics. We have to acknowledge something, and is the fact that we as teachers have been like, well, it's our nature to be busy people and to have many things to do, but there's it's something very important that we have to acknowledge, and it's the fact that whenever students know how they're going to be evaluated, they might get like better results. They know what is expected from them. Things are clear for them, so that they can like somehow achieve better results. When they get their feedback, they will not be surprised if they didn't do that well as they were expecting. They will be able to reflect, and we will be able to help them reflect, create more autonomous processes. But as I was saying, in order to create these rubrics, all these criteria for evaluation, well, that takes time. So this is here, I would like to start with the first platform that might help us a little bit, and it's Reboosting. I don't know if you're familiar with it, so I'd like to give you a couple of words related to Reboosting. Give me 1 second. Okay, Reboosting doesn't, oh, it didn't show up. So you can well, the link didn't open here, so I'm gonna open it here. You just have to go to Ravistar in English because, well, it has like a tool in Spanish as well. So let me show you this. It's better if you log in. Well, if you create an account, that's going to be very easy for you. But anyways, if you don't want to create an account, well, that's not a big problem. Let me tell you why. We usually use these kind of rubrics for writing projects, but also for oral evaluation. So let's say that, well, here it says it has some categories, for example, research and writing, called work skills, products, multimedia, and oral projects. Well, I'm gonna go very basic, and I'm gonna say that I wanna evaluate an oral presentation. So what I do is go in here to this speaking section, then we have oral presentation. Then here, I go here to this part that says creating and editing your rubric. Here you have categories. So you simply have to choose what you want. For example, if you want to evaluate the volume of the voice of your students, collaboration, content, posture, and eye contact stays on topic, vocabulary, time limit, speaks clearly, evaluation of peers, preparedness, what you understand for being prepared, enthusiasm, comprehension, positive speech. So it gives you a lot of possible criteria for evaluation when you decide to go, for example, for oral presentations. So let's say that I'd like to evaluate first content. So here it already establishes what high level of content would be, very good level, average level, and a poor level. So something very nice about this is that you can, of course, this is something generic, but you can edit the content. This gives you an idea and it saves you some time. So you can edit here whatever you want. And then you can go, well, you take like 1 minute editing here, making some edits here. You can change the numbers that you want to give. Let's say that, well, you can have these numeric concepts in here. So you choose them and then you go for the others. So let's say I already have content, so I'm going for vocabulary this time. I do the adaptations I want. You can change the name of the categories over here. Then I'd like to, well, let's say that I'm working on a pecha kucha. So of course, time is important over here. And well, I also want them to listen to their partners, listen to other presentations. Listens intently, does not make distracting noises or movements. Well, something simple. If I don't agree, so I change that. So let's say I chose 1, 2, 3, 4 criteria for that. So I have to go to the bottom of the page and I click on submit. Well, here they ask me for some information. So I'm gonna just put like some initial letters. Well, of course, a name, so oral presentation. And a zip code, here it says I have to put 999 if I don't live in the States. I would say this is a temporary because I didn't log in, and that's it. So now I'm ready. And there we go. So I have the rubric ready. And well, I can just print this. If I created an account, I can save it to my own account. I didn't have to make a big effort. Look, I've been talking here like for 5 minutes, but I already created a rubric that I can use with my students. Now, how can I use this? Well, it looks very physical. Here it says, for example, print, download, make available online. But if I make it available online, well, I would just have to, well, I would just have the option to highlight it over here. So how can I make it even more interactive when we talk about digital or digital assessment? So that's why I would use Corubrics. I don't know if you are familiar with that. So Corubrics is an extension that we use, well, to create this kind of interactive rubrics. And well, it's very simple to use. Here I have one that is already designed that I use with some of my Unica students. It was about an animal petition that they were doing, like to try to save an animal. So this is what I did. So I created the criteria, like some criteria they would use. And here is like where I have to describe the criteria. So the way I would integrate both is something as simple as copying and pasting here. Like I would just have to for instance, have this, divide the screen, and I would just have to copy and put it here, like that. As simple as that. So I already have the content here for my rubric. Here I have, like, let's say, the template that you can do it. You can do it with, well, for those that are not familiar with that, this is something that you can find on Google Sheets. The only thing that you have to do to use core rubrics is like to have a new sheet opened, and then you have to go to extensions. Ideally, in this Google Chrome is extensions, you need to download the core rubrics extension, just like I did. Then you click on enable core rubrics. Core rubrics is enabled. Then I create, here it says create template of rubric. And so I want to create it. It says that it would delete all the information that's here. I don't have anything. So yeah, that's it. So this is the empty template. Here you have a percentage that you can use. And if you already have the criteria created here with with Reboosting, you just have to copy and paste the information here. As simple as that. You have the criteria you want to evaluate. And then when you're ready, something that you would have to do is like go to the other pages. Here it says students. So you need to have the name of the students and the email of the students, because they're going to receive their feedback to their emails, the teacher, so you have access to that information. That's it. I already have that. So let me show you. Well, I have my students information over here. I have my name. And then when you have filled out that information, you just need to create, I will get the form link. So this is going to turn into a Google form link. And the idea is that you would have to share this Google form link with your students. Here, you just have to write your email, and here you find the name of your students. For example, here we have this student and we have the criteria. You can use this for self-assessment practices, peer assessment practices. They can see very easily what's being evaluated. For example, if we have, well, this language content here, like the use of per conjunctions, they know what excellent means, because here they have a descriptor in a kind of short way. So they just have to choose what they perceive from their partners or from themselves. And you as a teacher use exactly the same rubric. You just need to identify yourself, and you can ask your students to write a comment. And this is very simple to use, no matter if you have face-to-face classes or remote classes. When everybody evaluated, so you have an option here, you have to go back to core rubrics. Here it says, there's an option over here that says process. Well, here I already processed the form responses, but here it says, well, you're gonna find something that says process form responses. And over here, you're gonna find two parts. The teacher's comments, the student's comments with something that is a co-evaluation, and the auto evaluation, the comments from themselves. So it's very nice because you can promote like this, like I said before, this qualitative information, this qualitative feedback, this formative feedback. But of course, we are working at institutions where we need grades. So whenever they select this, they give their perception about their partners, they turn this data into numbers. So for this first criterion, in the co-evaluation, this student, like adding up all the comments, well, this got 3.3, but look, in my perception, he got 5. So how do you decide that? So here you can adjust the percentages. Okay, so, well, I'm the teacher, so I think that it should be 70% or 50%, whatever you want. I think that self-assessment should have like a better percentage, so that's something that you can adjust. And here, finally, you're gonna find the final grade. This is the final grade that you have, like adding up everything here. So you don't even have to worry about, oh, now I have to calculate now these numbers. Now I'm gonna have to stay overnight just to getting the grades ready for tomorrow. No, things are much easier now. And then when you have this information processed, you can send the results to students. So here, it shows you different options. So here it says, Do you want to send them the average or the lower item? Do you want to send the, well, the number for the auto evaluation, co-evaluation, teacher evaluation? Well, I would like to send all of that. The overall grade, of course. Grades for each aspect, of course. But if there is something that you wouldn't like to show them, well, you're free to not send in them. Comments, of course, I would like to send all of them, only to some students, to some specific students, or to all students, and then you send them, and that's it. That's you're done with that. So you have the chance to have a basis for the content of your rubrics, and then you have the possibility to digitalize that content in a very easy way. But not only to digitalize that, to turn that into comments, qualitative comments, but also into numbers. So you satisfy the well, what is expected from you in the place where you work. Now there are some thoughts that, well, there's been some research on these tools, and well, I like to show you about that. So first, Ravistar. So according to Chan et al, there are like some Asian researchers. They implemented this, and this is a kind of assessment that goes beyond oral presentation, and it facilitates the assessment of oral literacy. These researchers were focusing their attention on how to evaluate literacy processes when we're in a digital environment. So how can we evaluate all these, the use of these technological tools? And they found that Ravistar was a very nice tool to get integrated with that. And according to Cebrián de la Serna, in Spain. So, well, he says that it allows for the standardization of evaluation processes in institutions. You know what is nice about this code rubrics is that you can, well, you can share this with other teachers. They also have access to code rubrics if they download the application, the extension, so that you can come to terms with other teachers, so you know you're evaluating the same criteria. And this, as this is like share information, and here, look, here says teachers, not teacher. So you can write here like up to 20 teachers, so they share the same criteria. So this is a very easy way for you to standardize assessment processes in schools, universities, language programs. So yeah, this is something very important. As I said before, you can integrate this into peer assessment, self-assessment, and teacher assessment. Those are three processes that can be done through these tools. Now, let's move on to other things. There's been like, there are some principles that I like to mention here, and some problems that I like to sort out. A couple of things to consider. Like I said before, when we talk about these kind of tools, we are giving agency to students. They might become more analytical about their own processes when we are using these digital tools. They know how that assessment is something they can do. It's not in the hands of the teachers. Now, I am considering for this presentation some principles of a concept that is called the learning-oriented assessment. Some people might be much more familiar with, well, I have to do summative assessment because I have to use quizzes, I have to use tests to get the grades of my students. Other people might say, no, I prefer to focus on the process. I want to give qualitative comments to my students so that they know what to expect, they know how to improve throughout the process. So but there might be some things that kind of oppose. So the learning-oriented assessment process is something that takes elements from both summative assessment and formative assessment. So that's why we, this is more or less the cycle that we have. Firstly, we have to consider to have a frame for something, to know, well, what to expect or what to evaluate from our students. So in the principles of learning-oriented assessment, they depart from the Common European Framework to talk about, to establish the learning objectives. The learning objectives are developed by curriculum developers, by teachers that are starting to think of their classes. Then we have the teaching per se, the learning processes per se, and then things happen in class and out of class. In class, we have tasks, we have different activities, but also out of class, we have tasks and activities. This is when the recording of achievement happens through the different tools that I've been telling you so far. For example, when we are using the core rubrics format that we have, for example, in here, where you can write comments. What I do is to create a Google document where I have like some ideas and like some structure for how to give the comments to my students. And then I just copy paste the comments over here. So this is the process of recording the achievement of a student. You can take notes, whatever, in any way you want. So that's something very important. And then you do the assessment, but the assessment is also a kind of cyclical process. So this gets repeated and repeated and repeated. So then after the assessment, we review the objectives. So this is a process that's like a cyclical process. Here is represented in a kind of linear way, but it can also be developed in a more cyclical process. There was a problem that I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, and it was what happens if we don't have connectivity in our classes? What happens if we don't have internet, but we still want to use digital tools? So, well, Ginu Shama Bigan, sorry about my pronunciation, in 2019, they developed a study asking themselves this in India. So they found a very innovative app that might help you with that. And it's called Plickers. So Plickers, as you can see in this picture, that's like too small. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, it's basically this symbol. And this is for digital quizzes. But how does it work? Well, digital quizzes, something similar to Kahoot, but without cell phones, without internet. So let me show you a little bit about that. Okay, Plickers. So this is the website. No, this is the study, in case you want to review it. So using, I know that's not, no, I have it in the references, sorry. I'll show you that later. 1 second. Oh yeah, there we go. Plickers. So here we have Plickers. The idea is that you create your own quizzes here on Plickers. Just you can even transfer the ones you have created on quizzes, Kahoot, whatever you have used so far. You can use that information, copy paste here, and then you create them here in a new set. So here you have the question, options A, B, C, D. You select that this is the correct option, and that's it. And how does it work? Well, let me show you something that's very, very important. And it's basically this. This is the basis of everything. Let's be real, let's be honest. If we're talking about, digital tools, somehow to some point, we need to have at least one computer. So this might work with at least one computer or maybe one cell phone. We all have cell phones, and maybe, hopefully teachers will have a data connection. So what you need to have is, activate the game either on your cell phone or a computer, then have an application that is called, you can download it, that is called Plickers. You can find it on the App Store or the Android store as well. And this application is basically a QR reader. So this is a kind of QR code. If you notice here, you have A, B, C, D. So what you saw here, do you remember that you saw these kids here put in this? So what they have to do is to put it like covering maybe their faces and move it if they have they consider the correct answer that they can see. That's why it's important maybe to have a computer where you show them the options. This is the question, these are the options. And what do you think is the correct answer? So someone is gonna think A, B, C, and how does it work? Look here, this has A, B, A, B, C, D, or so they just have to put it on a device, have it on a piece of paper, and they turn it to A. No, the correct answer is B, like this. And then with your cell phone, you're gonna activate the application, and it's going to detect, okay, this student got A, this student is deciding B, and it's going to transfer that into the quiz, and it's going to say, for example, okay, this student Francisco got A, and that was the correct answer. This student Laura had C, and that's the incorrect question. So you have to create a class with your students, for example, like this, and it's going to recognize the students. Like sometimes you would have just um, to you don't have to use their faces, because remember that sometimes we are working with kids. So what you have to do is to ask them to put their faces like that, and then it's going to ask you, well, to write the name, to type the name of those codes. Yes, so it's going to identify here in the application. You're going to see that it has a code here. Well, this is Laura, this is Daniel, this is Francisco. Yeah, so they're covering like that. You ask them for a moment to cover their faces. So you tag them, you tag them with their names in that picture, and then it's going to start recognizing who's saying what thing. So that's something that you just need to print the cards. Like you said, you just have to tell the students, okay, if you think the answer is A, so you put it like this, the answer is, so the training would be more for the teachers rather than for the students, because the instruction I just told you is very simple. But maybe we as teachers need to get used to using this tool a little bit more. Maybe we need to create an account, we need to register our students, we need to print the cards. So that's something that we need to start considering, okay? And that was like the solution that these researchers thought for this kind of problem when our connectivity is kind of low. Okay, let me see if I can zoom. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay, let me get back here. So that was something about what has been done, like some research and some innovation that we have with these digital tools. Now let's move on to the next part, that is avatars. You might be familiar with some of these tools. Now I wanna say something that, well, some considerations that we need to have when we use these kind of tools. For example, you might be familiar with Class Dojo, that you might also be familiar with Classcraft. There's another one that is like much simpler, that is My Class Game. And this is a tool that's used to, well, as a counterpart for Class Dojo. Well, if you're not familiar with Class Dojo, I'm gonna show you very quickly what this is about. I have here, well, a class. um, so here, these are avatars of my students. So, well, basically you can give them points. You decide what points to use. You can add skills here, what positive skills you want, etc. You can add other teachers so they can evaluate using the same class. You can add students, and here it says families. Well, if you're working with kids, sometimes well, the parents are gonna be asking you, how's my kid doing? And sometimes we don't have enough time to tell them, okay, who's your kid first? So yeah, it's kind of difficult. So you can add parents here as well. But something that we can do is that where it says families, what I try to do is to add the students themselves. So I just write the email of the student, so they know exactly. I don't have to be telling them all the time how you're doing, well, if you're participating or not. Yeah, well, this is a tool that they have, which is nice. Something that is nice about this tool is that, well, they're random avatars. They didn't choose them, and at the beginning they're eggs. So you can see like how these avatars are growing and growing. This is something that, well, some people might not, well, as teachers, you might say, no, but this sounds a little bit childish. I don't want to use this with, well, I have older students. I wouldn't like to use this. I have used it even with adults, and they like using these kind of tools. But there are some things that we have to consider. So when we talk about this, well, Williamson says that even, well, 5 years ago, before the pandemic, this tool had been used by more than 3 million teachers. Well, people know, teachers, sorry, a typo here. And it had been used with around 35 million students in 180 countries. So it's a very popular application. But there's something that he started like somehow criticizing, and it's like, we have to be careful with the use of these tools and how we use these tools, because it turns out to be a very behavioristic tool. Like, okay, if you behave well, I'll give you a point. If you behave badly, I'll give you a negative point. So are we just evaluating for giving them positive and negative points? So that's something that we have to consider, and we need to do that. And also, what happens with all that data of those 35 million students that were using that tool. So that data doesn't really disappear. So according to, well, to a research by Williamson, this was also used by behavioral, well, that was considered as behavioral data, fostering surveillance of psychological characteristics of students. So with this and all the comments that teachers are constantly writing, they can somehow create profiles of students. Most of the students in this country are good at these skills. They have problems with these other skills. So that's something that, well, we have to consider to what extent we could use these tools. Something important that I might find interesting is that you can write comments. There are options here for comments, but you can also check attendance. Like, for example, here it appears as everybody came to class. It's easier to see, oh, who didn't come to class? Okay, so this person didn't come to class. So like that, and you saved attendance like that. So this has important tools. You can create groups. You tell them I want groups of 3 people, and you just show these on the screen. And well, these are the groups. You don't have to worry about how to group students. So it has very practical tools that we can consider. But yeah, like we said before, like what happens with all that data? Now there's another tool, something that's an option, another option, that is Classcraft. This definitely works well with teenagers. I've had classes of teenager students, and they have loved these kind of tools. Why? Let me show you why. This is a kind of role play in which they can modify their avatars. I use this with public school students when we had like remote classes, for example. Well, let me show you one profile. This is the appearance that the student gave to a student. And as you can see here, they have levels and they have roles. He's a guardian over here. So I can give him like additional points, but about what? Well, you did your homework, you help your partners, you will work well in breakout rooms, so they know what they are doing well. So they know like what criteria is being assessed. Also, there's like negative criteria. This is a little bit behavioristic, but differently from the class dojo. First, we are integrating gamification because you can create missions for them. Like, for example, you can create a mission of make groups with someone you have never worked with. So if you as a teacher see that they accomplish the mission, so you can give them like the points for accomplishing the missions, which are they have a higher value than the normal points. We have role play, like we said before. They can identify themselves as from the digital persona they were constructing. They can bring it to a face-to-face classroom. Also, you can see here processes of identity construction, because as you can see here, well, students are free to dress as they want. So you can see here different roles. We have, for example, this one that likes, well, to dress like this, but using a crocodile butterfly. And it's something like you can even do research about it. Why did you decide to do that? What's represented over here? According to Sang et al., that fosters motivation. So it fosters like, well, wow, I'm somehow playing, and if I participate more in class, then my character is gonna get stronger and stronger. So it's somehow they're playing video games with that. So that's very nice use of gamification for online assessment practices. There's this other tool. They can also create their avatars. Well, we have this variety of avatars. It's not like medieval like the others, but yeah, you can choose, for example, different themes. Like, for example, you have Matrix here, Star Wars, if they like that. So it's kind of similar to the others. But well, to be honest, I haven't used this one that much. But this has a little bit more variety in the kind of characters you might be using. So as I said before, you can use these tools, but you need to use them very conscientiously, like provide feedback inside the tools, not only use them to divide the good students from the bad students, because that's very somehow behavioristic and kind of instrumental. Okay. Now, I'd like to mention, sorry, how long do we have? 5 minutes? Okay.
5 minutes,
10
Jonathan.
minutes? 5 minutes? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna, I might be sharing this with you so you can see some of these things. So you can see this is an interactive presentation, but there are a couple of things that I'd like to share with you, and it's my own experiences. So something, well, according to Zoke, well, this is a presenter that was like sponsored by Cambridge this year about digital online tools that we can use. Well, she says that less can be more. And there might be too many tools to control. If we use a lot of tools, like let me show you like a quick overview. There's a lot of tools here. For example, video tools for exit tickets to do self-assessment, then to provide feedback, to give peer feedback. Oh, this is not working. Where is, I know. Well, flip.com. Okay, let me do something here. Flip.com helps you to create peer feedback sessions where students can provide feedback among themselves with other comments. They can write comments, they can share links over here. They can even, well, write a comment over here, or they can record themselves providing feedback. So let me see if I can show you. Here, we have a video, and this over here is a video where this student is giving feedback to this other student. So flip.com provides that option for you to promote all types of feedback here, okay? There's something from self-assessment practices, and it's something that was a kind of use that I discovered in Genially. That was like something that we can use to categorize different things. This is a kind of self-assessment I designed, and it's a review for the last day of class. Okay, we are getting ready for exams. There are some topics that we would like to review. So here I have different icons, and every icon is it's a grammar topic that we studied in class. So students just have to see here, for example, we have the name, the book presentation, essay writing, tag questions. For example, they have to click over that. Okay. And then they're gonna find activities to practice. So that's just practice, language practice, grammar practice. And this is a communicative task that they can do after the grammar practice. So they're gonna decide if that topic for them was easy, totally easy, doable, not easy, not difficult. So they classify that. Well, it was doable, it wasn't easy, but not that easy. So they do the activities in case they don't remember what we are referring to. Oh, for me, that was difficult. So they're gonna classify this over here. At the end of the class, this activity should look something like this. They classify all the topics. Oh, what is this topic? Essay writing. Okay, it was kind of difficult for me. Well, they classify that. They just have to, if you have any kind of tool to share this picture, they just have to send you a screenshot, and then you're gonna know. Of course, you need to have a list where it says the pair is tag questions. I don't know. The avocado is the pair conjunction. So you make a list of the topics, and next to it you write the fruit. So you as a teacher, you just have to check the pictures, and then you say, okay, so I see that for most students, the most difficult topics were reading comprehension, essay writing. Okay, so I notice now that I have to focus my classes more on this. I have to make some adjustments, and we need to work more on essay writing. Yeah, so that with just this information, well, students are gamifying their experience, and they're like doing that. Here is another example of that. And yeah, this is like a review, much more simple. So here I just wrote, put the easy topics here, put the difficult topics here. So they just have to do this. Okay, they practice, they click here, and they have activities. So, okay, that was easy for me. No, this was difficult. This was difficult. It was easy, and the same thing. They send you a picture of this right after the end of the class. Well, at the end of the class, and you see, wow, I can see that for most of my students, these topics are easy or these topics are difficult for them. Yeah. So this is one of the practices that you can do. Finally, the last thing that I would like to mention from my own experiences is the use of I know it was over here, providing feedback. This is a tool, to be honest, this is the only tool that I paid for, but there are similar apps, but let me show you how I used it. This is basically an app that I use for tablets in case you like to use tablets, and it's basically handwriting. So you use handwriting and you have a notebook for them. Let me show you my notebook. Good notes. Well, this is I don't know, you're not looking at it. 1 second. Here, this is a notebook that I have on my cell phone, my tablet, and my computer, and I share the link with my student Carlos. So whenever I write something, my students have the chance to see what I am writing. So we are in an online class. I cannot share them the paper. It's difficult for me to be taking pictures all the time and sending them and putting them on a portfolio. So this is a kind of digital portfolio where I write things over there and then we can see it. And the good thing about this is that this is something that you can use on real time. For example, well, I have my tablet over here and I can see here like on May 25, that I'm gonna try to write something. And let me see, oh, my tablet is not connected. Well, it takes a while, but well, it's supposed to be updated. Yeah, it gets updated with the time. Yeah, there you go. This is something that I just wrote over here. So whenever I am in class, I'm listening to my students, I'm taking notes, and this is getting updated. I shared this link via email with them. So they just know the only training I did is please check your email. That's it. That's the only training they need. And then they see the comments, pronunciation, and well, other comments that I have. So yeah, these are some of the tools that I usually use. And well, there are many tools that are like to go beyond our practices. I couldn't show you all of them, but these are like some relevant tools that we can use to think of our own practices. Thank you very
Jonathan,
much.
this is awesome. And I know that, of course, we're very short of time because you want to share so many things with us. And probably I think it would be a very good idea if we could invite you to a live or to another webinar to have a part 2, or if we could invite you to do something else with us, because these are kind of tools that we like bringing teachers, things that you can actually go and use in the classroom that are going to make your life easier and the teaching and the learning something more interactive, something that your students are more, as you said, getting more engaged, having more agency. So I want to thank you very much. And there are good comments. There are people saying that they're very good tools. What do you guys say? They say that this is awesome, that these are great ideas. And I am sure that people want some more. So what do you say, guys? Why don't you show me some thumbs up or some comments in the chat maybe? Would you like a second part? Would you like us to have Jonathan on a live, maybe on our Instagram? You say thanks for sharing your ideas and experiences. Thought-provoking talk, says Gabriel Cote. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you for sharing. Great meeting. Don't go. We have something special if you're in the room. Great new tools. So, Jonathan, this is your first time with us in a webinar, right?
Yeah, it is.
You will be hearing from us. You will be hearing from Kate.
Great.
Thank
I
you. Thank
remember
you.
the first time. Yeah, the first time I heard about Asocopy was when I was in the undergraduate. I was an undergraduate student, and I said, "Wow!" I went to my first congress like many years ago in Medellin, and wow, I said, "Wow, that's amazing! I would like to present someday with them."
I think we will have you soon because I think you
Yes.
still have many things to tell us.
Yeah, the time is never enough,
No,
and
it's never.
we require more from you. So
Definitely.
we will ask you to join us in future events that we will have.
So guys,
Thank you.
I sent a link in the chat. There are only 3 people who already registered, and unless you register, you are going to have like 10 seconds while I show you again some of the information about ASOCOPY if you want to participate in this raffle. All right.
Please don't go yet because we have a surprise.
We have something very special for you.
Yeah.
All right. And let me show you what it is. Let me be back in Zoom. Here is the link. We are going to raffle it with the people that register in the form, okay? With the people that register in the form. So let me tell you what it is very quick. Jonathan, you should too. It would be very good if you could join.
Okay.
One of our special partners, and you have time to register only while I talk. One of our special partners, that is Friends Will Be Friends, will be having a conference, an online conference on June 10 and 11. That is Saturday and Sunday. It is 19.99 euros instead of 29.99. But we're going to raffle one free ticket for this conference right now with the people who have registered. All right. So I can give you a couple of seconds. Let's go very quickly to review that we are meeting in Manizales with our national speakers, our international speakers, and we already have our school teacher plenary speaker, Jimmy Hoyos. I know Jimmy is around from Pitalito, and we are having special prizes. Our next webinar will be one of our international speakers, Mr. Juan Rios, on June the 29th. He's a well-known author and international teacher. Help us spread the word, and remember that our diplomados are starting on August the 8th. We have been in La Salle, Uniminuto, having different talks. Probably something like this is going to happen very soon. I think we are inviting Jonathan. We are also meeting virtually with Universidad La Gran Colombia and other institutions. And all this information is in our newsletter. The back to school is offering also a special price only for ASOCOPY and for Colombian teachers. Check How Journal. Donations are welcome. You can donate even 1,000 pesos. And we have special interest groups, many benefits for our members. Follow us in social media, and the answers are now closed. Ready? So we have 10 people, and you sent us your mail. I'm sorry, I'm going to copy this here. We will contact you in mail because we will need some of your information so we can send it to our friends. So here are the 10 people that registered. Everybody seeing my screen?
Yes.
All right, so let's see who the winner is. So we are choosing only one winner, all right? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as soon as you leave, please remember to visit my friend in Instagram Live today. The thesis won't kill me with teacher Caro Ro. She is in this moment starting her Instagram Live. It's amazing with another teacher from Monica because Monica is in the house. 3, 2, 1, and the winner is Marta Patricia Martinez.
Congratulations,
Hi.
Marta.
Marta, where are you? Raise your hand. Where are you, Marta Patricia? Marta Patricia, here, she says in the chat. All right, Marta Patricia, our administrative manager will be contacting you for your free tickets on Friends Will Be Friends. So this is the end of our session. Remember, go to Instagram Live. The thesis won't kill me starting live right now. Our pleasure to have you here. See you next month. Thank you, Jonathan. See you soon.